With universities in session and the college football season about to enter into full swing, there are new concerns surrounding COVID-19 on campuses across the country. Are social distancing guidelines doing enough to slow down the spread of the Jasonator? And later, we're less than 2 weeks away from the presidential election, and OPR's political experts are weighing in on why the stakes have never been higher. Could this be the most important election in the history of America's decline? From The Onion and Onion Public Radio, I'm Leslie Price, and this is The Topical. Back with more news as soon as I'm able to unlodge this swab out of my nose that came with my at-home COVID test that I ordered online. Stay with us. God, it is really up there. Universities across the country are forging ahead with a fall semester unlike anything we've ever experienced, but new data today is showing that the safety procedures put in place by many schools may not be going far enough to prevent COVID-19. For more, I'm joined by OPR Chief Senioritis Correspondent Marcy Hammond. Marcy, what sort of risks are we looking at?
Well, Leslie, the Department of Health and Human Services has determined that despite a concerted effort by colleges, the social distancing guidelines that have been put in place are still simply no match for the Jasonator. I spoke with HHS Deputy Director Alex Collins to get a fuller picture.
Throughout the fall semester, we've seen that universities may initially go a few days or even a week without any outbreaks. But as soon as the Jasonator shows up with a case full of brewskis and that devilish grin on his face, the infection rates begin to spike almost immediately.
Now, Marcy, let's get specific here. What precautions have colleges been putting in place to ensure their students and staff remain COVID-free in the event that the J-Dog turns a simple pregame into the party of the year by jumping off the roof of the house and into a swimming pool?
Well, many schools understand that even the smallest get-together can transform into a super spreader event and are looking to mitigate those as much as possible. But the risks don't stop there. The HHS has also found that any sort of in-person learning is prohibitively dangerous, since the protections offered by masks or plexiglass barriers are undercut by our dude sneaking in an Nalgene full of vodka to pass around to everyone in class.
Right. Now, some colleges have taken an even more stringent tact, allowing students on campus, but keeping them confined to their residence halls. Am I correct in thinking that this, too, still doesn't go far enough?
Unfortunately, you're exactly right, Leslie. Here's Dr. Collins again.
While keeping students in their rooms may provide additional protections, it's far from a guarantee. We fully expect J Money to get so absolutely plastered that he'll likely wander into a random dorm room thinking it's his own apartment and then throw up all over the closet. And to that end, contagion really can't be ruled out in any sort of social interaction since the Jasonator has scored with members of the dining hall staff, that cute girl who works in the bookstore, and even some of the townies.
Wow, what a legend.
Absolutely, Leslie. Here's audio from one alarmingly epic event that took place during the first afternoon of freshman orientation.
So, Marcy, it seems like the only truly safe course of action here may be banning Jay Nasty from campus entirely.
Yes, but colleges are reluctant to take such an extreme step, especially since it still wouldn't necessarily rule out the wild antics of T-Bone Moose and the Chazman. And while doing so may help manage the outbreaks in the immediate community, there could still be more dire long-term effects since the Jasonator's parents are out of town for the weekend, and he plans to throw one of the most out-of-control ragers his hometown has ever seen.
Oh, is that this weekend? Damn, too bad. I'm going around the neighborhood and smashing up all my neighbors' jack-o'-lanterns. Maybe next time.
You weren't invited, Leslie.
And you don't know that, Marcy. That's OPR's Marcy Hammond, who should really stick to reporting things she knows for sure are true. Back in a moment. As Amy Coney Barrett's nomination continues to move through the Senate this week, conservatives are hopeful the possibility of a Supreme Court majority means the days of on-demand cervical cancer detection will soon be over. OPR's Supreme Court correspondent Rebecca Neal joins us now with more. Rebecca, welcome.
Thanks, Leslie. While liberals say Barrett's confirmation could have terrible implications for the future of women's health care, conservatives today are rejoicing. Many Christians, pro-life groups, and Republican leaders like Congressman Gary Smallwood say that once Barrett is appointed to the highest court in the land, they'll finally have the judicial power needed to shut down Planned Parenthood's agenda that provides pap smears and HPV tests that screen for cancer.
Amy Coney Barrett's nomination is a victory for Christian America and Christians everywhere. She will give a voice in the Supreme Court to Americans who want to protect life, all life, whether it's a developing human child or a precious tiny tumor growing inside the womb.
Interesting. Rebecca, what kinds of restrictions currently exist on cervical cancer detection?
Right now, the laws vary state by state, though with a Supreme Court majority, conservatives will likely be seeking an almost blanket ban on the federal level. Here's Smallwood again.
In many liberal states, it's still as easy as walking into a clinic. No questions asked. There's no reason needed. It's disgusting. Well, those days are finished. Together, we will end on-demand cancer detection.
And in other more conservative states like Smallwood's home state of Texas, there are tougher obstacles in place. There, minors can't get screened for cancer without getting permission from their parents. And any woman thinking about cancer detection also needs permission from her sexual partner.
In case they think she's making the wrong decision?
Well, yes, because they say it's their cancer too.
That's true. I still remember when my high school girlfriend got cancer. It was so scary. Luckily, a church group helped us out. Anyway, she's dead now.
Aw, I'm so sorry, Leslie.
No, it was the responsible choice. So what other tough pro-life laws have been put into place?
Well, in Indiana, for instance, cervical cancer detection is legal, but if you get it removed, you have to bury or cremate the remains.
Sounds expensive.
It is, but lawmakers say maybe they should have thought about that before they went out and got cancer. It's also becoming common to make women pay clinics multiple visits, the first being a mandatory ultrasound, followed by a waiting period.
A waiting period, but won't it just get bigger during that time?
Well, a lot could happen in that time. Sure, the cancer could grow or spread to other parts of her body, but what lawmakers are really hoping for is that the extra time gives the woman the chance to reflect and decide to keep it.
Yeah.
However, most Republicans don't think these restrictions go far enough, which is what makes Barrett's nomination so exciting to groups like Students for Life, who had a rally outside the Supreme Court this morning in support of Barrett. Here's organization president Tessa Gill.
Feminists want you to think it's healthcare, but we know it's killing. Feminists want you to think it's just a clump of cells, but we know cervical cancer is much more than that. Feminists want you to think it's empowering, but we know there are women who would do anything to have cancer of their own. Real women let their tumors grow. We will be the generation that abolishes low-cost cervical cancer detection for good.
The group is focused on stopping all cervical cancer detection, but particularly later stage detection when they say a tumor as big as a cabbage is really no less human than you or me.
I've heard they can even have fingernails. Now, Rebecca, when can we expect to see the Supreme Court take action?
Well, there's no timeline yet, but the Trump administration is pushing for it hard. For now, all we can do is sit and wait, though I will say I do find it inspiring to finally see a Supreme Court nominee who shops at Talbot's.
Yes, at least she's someone young girls in knitted ponchos can look up to. Thanks, Rebecca. That's OPR's Rebecca Neal. Back in a moment. Well, I hope you're sitting down because a recent study has revealed some pretty upsetting news regarding the relationship between you and your personal friend group. Results from a comprehensive survey of your friends has found that they don't really think of you as part of the group. Here to discuss is OPR popularity correspondent Dr. Laura Daubert. Dr. Daubert, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Leslie.
Now, this is probably pretty shocking for the person listening to find out that the group of people they thought they were closest with don't feel the same at all. But how exactly did this survey work?
Well, Leslie, it's actually pretty simple. Researchers just asked every single one of your friends what they thought of you, the person listening, and the results were overwhelming. They just sort of think of you as a peripheral figure in their lives that's just not really part of the crew.
Wow, so you're saying all of these quote-unquote friends actually hate the person listening to this podcast?
Well, hate is a strong word. These results seem to indicate that friends of you, the listener, don't even feel strongly enough about you to hate you. It's really more of an indifference than anything. They could really just take or leave you, because to them, who you are and what you are as a person is essentially inconsequential and holds no bearing on their lives in any way.
Wow, in many ways, that's even worse than being hated.
Yeah, it really reduces the person listening down to just absolutely nothing. Just listen to what one of your so-called friends had to say about you.
Sorry, who? Oh, I think I know who you're talking about. The one that always lingers around the group and everyone just sort of puts up with. Yeah, they're more of an acquaintance than anything else.
Just brutal. Now, is it possible there was a mistake in the findings?
Oh, not a chance. The researchers cited a 0% margin of error in their survey, meaning that beyond a shadow of a doubt, the people who you, the listener, rely on for emotional support and camaraderie hold no such affection for you. Just disinterested numbness.
But now, what about all the time they've spent together? Surely they wouldn't interact with the listener if they weren't friends, right?
Oh, not the case at all, actually. Sure, you, the listener, might be included in a group chat, but you're certainly not in the main thread with all the actual close-knit members of the group, not to mention all the inside jokes you're not a part of. And when you actually are invited to things, it's usually just an afterthought, or because it would be weird to only invite your roommate and not you. Really, the only reason communication has been maintained for so long is simply the fact that it would be more work than it's worth to cut you out of their lives completely.
Well, maybe these just aren't particularly warm people. What do these friends think about each other? Are they equally distant?
Interestingly, no. The findings quite clearly show that all of your friends actually hold a lot of fondness for everyone else except you. Even the friends that haven't known each other as long as they've known you. It's actually quite beautiful and meaningful. For everyone that isn't you.
That is lovely. So I guess the question on our friendless listeners' mind must be, is there any way to strengthen the connection, or should they just plan on being alone forever?
Well, evidence suggests that there was one small window in 2017 when it seemed like you out there could make it into the group, but instead you were really annoying and fucked it all up for yourself, and now it doesn't appear likely that anyone will ever be close to you.
That is a shame. Well, friendship may be a lost cause, but hopefully our listener will one day be able to at least find a special someone who's more than a friend and share their life with a person in an even more meaningful way.
Actually, according to a similar survey of people you, the listener, have dated, not a single one of them have ever considered themselves in an actual relationship with you, nor did they feel any love toward you in the slightest. The most they ever felt when they looked at you was mild disgust.
Wow, that's rough. Too bad you out there have no one to turn to make you feel any better. And unfortunately, you're not even an important listener to us either. And we certainly don't care enough to follow up on how you feel, so I guess we're just going to end this here. Thanks for coming on, Dr. Daubert.
My pleasure.
That's OPR's Dr. Laura Daubert. Back in a moment. Well, unfortunately, that COVID test swab was just too far up there to be salvaged, so I just pushed it all the way up and figure it's best to just let nature run its course. But just in case I accidentally punctured my prefrontal cortex, we should probably get through the rest of this news quick. So here's what else you need to know today. In the wake of a particularly contentious clash between former Vice President Joe Biden and President Donald Trump last night, a post-debate poll today has found that the majority of viewers agree that America was a waste of time. After viewing the 90-minute debate, more than 54% of those surveyed were left feeling that the past 243 years have been a total waste and that they would be in favor of taking an unprecedented step and simply canceling America from here on out. It's difficult to see how we'll ever be able to turn this thing around after that. And Rudy Giuliani is attempting some damage control today after appearing in what many are calling a compromising scene in the new Borat film. Giuliani today is crying foul, calling the scene, quote, a complete fabrication, and has even gone so far as to release a video of himself really masturbating to show everyone what it would actually look like. The clip from Giuliani is completely unedited and is very different from the Borat scene in question. I mean, down on all fours, two hands, it's... Let's move on. And a fantastic new discovery in the fight against fat. Researchers today believe they have definitively traced the source of our nation's obesity epidemic to a fantastic little diner in Alabama that serves the most incredible cinnamon rolls. Ooh, that does sound good. Might have to head down south and give obesity a try. And that's the Topical for today. I'm Leslie Price. The news actually does stop once this podcast is over, but since you still have many empty moments of your life to fill, why not check out theonion.com for more on all the things you just listened to? And if your life is truly devoid of all meaning and fulfillment, why not sign up to become a member of the Topical's Patreon? Today we have a very special Halloween-themed episode made exclusively for Patreon. It's very spooky and is sure to help fill the lonely void that is your sorry weekend. So don't wait. Go sign up now. And we'll see you Monday. The news doesn't stop just because this YouTube video has. For even more on all the worst things happening in the world right now, listen and subscribe to The Topical on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, you insatiable news freaks.